up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We'll look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in Kate. Kate, good to see you this evening.
Good to see you. And are you excited to talk about this tonight? I hope I didn't steal Pete's joke.
No, are you just wanting to get kicked off? Next, we got to have our producer, Gina's coming on. Gina, how you doing this evening?
Great. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to talk about Star Wars,
I love it when Gina comes on.
Next, we've got Peter. Pete, how you doing?
Kate stole my joke.
No! Dang it!
No, that wasn't my joke. I don't have a joke today.
Oh.
I tried to think of one, and I couldn't think
Still
of
one of K2SO's.
That's
Yeah. Podcasts are built on hope.
There you go. That's good.
help, Steve.
There's no hope.
You think that Steve is on your side in this, but I think that Steve should have...
I'm just shaking my head because it's the end of the school year, and some of us have to reason with young humans.
Okay, but can we talk about, with all of us, how tan Steve looks right now compared to the rest of us?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Look how tan you look.
Lighting does,
and school hasn't even finished yet, and he's going up on the roof of the school apparently.
Guys,
right.
Not already, please like, subscribe, share, and because we got some fun shows coming up. We're gonna we've got some Star Wars stuff. There's some Marvel stuff coming out. And we're gonna go back into the vault and grab some of that stuff too, because we're gonna need a break from some of the mediocrity that's coming. So that being said, this week we looked at the Andor season 2 finale episodes, which were episodes 10 through 12. Rather than try and recap it, I'm just going to say, if you have not watched episodes 10, 11, and 12, pause this right now, go watch and you need to watch all 3 episodes, and then come back and see if you agree with what we're talking about or not. So, we'll wait.
3 hours later.
You saw just happened. That actually just happened. I know. Crazy.
3 hours later.
Oh, yeah. We're back. And my first question comes from mainly episode 10, which is, was Luthen given a proper send-off? Was the end of his storyline... I don't like to use the word satisfying. I really don't, especially when, there's a death. But was it a good way to wrap up the character? Gina, I'll jump over and start with you.
Okay, perfect. The thing was, it was super predictable. Again, I just wish it was less predictable the way that he went out. I knew he had to go out. I knew it had to be Kyler, whatever her name is. No, she had to do it. And it was just super predictable. And I just didn't like the flashback. Was it proper? Yes, because that was the only way they could have done it and have Andor really fully commit. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was a proper way to have the character. You knew he was going to die. You knew it probably wasn't going to be in a big explosion or something like that. I disagree with what Gina said. I kind of like that they gave us the backstory of Clea, which made her character more interesting than it had been. And so you were more rooting for her to get away, knowing that Luthen, I will admit, yeah, it was pretty predictable that was what was going to have to happen, right? Once you found out that he tried to kill himself and it didn't succeed, you knew that she was going to have to go in and do it and everything. But I still thought that was all very tense and everything. So it worked for me. I thought he had the proper send off. What do you say, Steve?
I agree with you, Pete. I thought it was a great send off. Thinking back, I liked how the flashback really set up the Clay character for the last few episodes. I think it was a nice there, because she was always in the background and you knew she was intense, but I felt like it really showing that relationship of who possibly was more really in charge and who was more really, I see her as more cutthroat than him. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, and I've even seen an argument that she was actually Axis rather
I
than
think she was. Yeah, I think she
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
because she was the one that was really she was the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
mhm.
She's the one who put the listening device. Yeah, she put all the
Yeah.
things on the in the
It-
thing.
And actually, that brings up a question that I have. I'll bring it up because I was thinking that makes more sense I know this sort of jumping, but Deidre's demise of one issue I was having with her storyline of if Clea comes in and blows up the hospital, why was she so punished? Like, because some of those things she's saying had to be somewhat true. But if she was a literally access and they're thinking Luthen was this off other character,
Mhm.
that explains some of that.
Well, we can talk about Deirdre separately because I have some opinions there.
Yeah.
But the I don't know. I guess I think of it as like they were Access, right? Or Axis, Luthen and Clea together. They were in the first series. It looked like she was just his assistant, and obviously in this series we saw a lot more of her, and we learned that she was kind of equal partners in the whole situation. So I think they were the team that was Axis. I keep sounding like I'm saying Axis.
Yeah. Did anyone else think she looked like Ruby Sue from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation as a little girl?
I get that, I guess, but no.
Her hair.
Yeah.
Again, it was predictable. I mean, you knew when they talked about how basically you had to kill somebody off and if they're going to be tortured, and you saw how it affected Bix early.
Mhm.
You knew there was no way that he was going to allow himself to be tortured, and there was no way, and she knew that.
And she wasn't either, right?
It worked. Sure. It was not a death I was upset about, to be perfectly honest. There were a couple I've got issues with a couple. Yeah, there's some storylines coming up that we will have a discussion about here in about a couple minutes. But Kate, anything to add about Luthen?
So I liked Luthen, but I think I liked Luthen because I know that he's one actor that has been in both the Star Wars and the Marvel universe. So, no, I thought his death was poetic in that he stabbed himself when Deidre wasn't looking, and how I mean, Steve nailed it on the head of like having the flashbacks really added some depth to all of that, because you didn't really know, and Clea did kind of stay in the background, and you never really knew her story or like what I didn't, at least, but chaos and confused Kate ran amok these episodes.
And
so.
I think for me anyways, it made you so you were rooting for her to get away, which I don't know that you ever would have felt that way about Luthen. I don't think you would have felt like he was ever gonna get away, right? But like you're to me in that second episode when she's in that apartment and like she's arguing with Andor and you're like just leave. Why are you still here? Go. Go.
They're monologuing.
They were monologuing. Yep.
Yeah.
They were monologuing. So I thought it was poetic.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so that's the Luthen one. That's the one I really wanted to make sure we addressed. But there are lots of other storylines that get wrapped in this series. And I'm going to let her go first because I know the one that she's wanting. So, Kate, let us know what you think about the Bix storyline.
Oh, I'm mad. I'm mad. This girl comes in here and he's all like, I'm out. I'm done. I just want to be with you. I want to live my life. I've done all these things. And she's like, no, I have to go help the resistance. I'm going to leave you in the middle of the night and I'm going to leave you a little video. And then, oh, I need to not curse because this is a family podcast. This girl just goes and has his baby and stands and looks at wheat fields and it's just like, oh, sunsets, peace, little baby. And it's like, ma'am, that is what he wanted. And you just went and lived him. Go ahead, Gina.
So because we unfortunately know in Star Wars, they always tell us the ending before the thing. So we knew what was going to happen to him, but this kid is going to be in something, right? This kid, that's what I'm thinking. They're setting up for the future. The kid is
not, it is,
not Poe Dameron.
Not Poe Dameron.
No, he's not. But he's going to be in like the new
everywhere.
Ryan Gosling. No, he's going to be in that new Ryan Gosling one or the new, there's a Ray one. He's going to be Andor, whatever. His name's going to be something Andor.
The Ray thing's too far away.
Hypocrisy!
You don't think we're going to do like an adult? He won't be an adult Jedi training person. He might be Jedi Force.
Well, because like this is like
20 years before.
No, this is like 35, 40 years before.
So he would be okay. So he couldn't be in the Ray thing, but he could be in that Ryan Gosling.
He could be in the Ryan Gosling thing, yeah.
Okay, but that's what I think they're trying to set up for. That is, he's going to be an Andor, somebody.
I don't want that, but okay.
That's what I think.
On that one is that was an awfully old child. That's
supposed to be one. I know.
Well, or even a little older. I'm wondering, when was that last scene? We almost wonder if that last scene wasn't actually after the Battle of Yavin.
It probably was.
But if you're following this, it wouldn't be the Battle of Yavin. If you're following here, it should be about a year out. So,
or not even a year out. It's more of this happened at some point during that year.
Yeah.
And really, it's like, okay, if Battle in Yavin would be January 1st, this is like November
of that year. Yeah, later. Right. Yeah, later.
Yeah.
I had been personally fine if we had never seen Bix again. She had her exit. She's off somewhere. We know that she's safe. And then Andor's going off this way. We know his fate. And it's sort of that tragic love thing. They'll never meet again because he's not going to make it.
Right.
And left it at that.
I think it almost would have worked. I think it almost would have worked better without the baby, just to have her be walking through the field and
smile and know.
Or
the only redeeming thing was Bimo was there and Bimo had someone.
Yes, that's true. You got your Bimo. Yes, you got your.
I jumped off the.
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead.
I jumped off the couch when Bimo showed up. I
was like,
yeah. Can everybody acknowledge the fact though that she totally swiped his happy ending?
Because she knew she was pregnant at that point.
Right. She knew she was. Yeah.
That doesn't make it better.
There'd be no movie. There'd be no movie if she didn't live.
It also explains why she could not keep fighting if she was pregnant.
Yeah.
She believed that he was destined to do something important. And that's why she left.
Storylines, blah.
Because she bought more into that.
That's how it was written. That
Star Wars is that.
She believed she had to leave to protect his future. I don't think she knew that he was going to die, but in her mind, she knew he was going to do something important, and she knew that if he found out she was having a baby, that he would quit.
Yes.
And there was no way, and so she was just like, I'm out, and if everything works out at the end, then we'll get back together, and if not, he saves the rebellion, and which he does. So
she totally bought into the Force sensitive person who said that he
Right.
was a messenger.
And that's the thing with her. It should have just ended and been done, unless this kid is Force sensitive, which that's what I think they're gonna do. They're
I
going
really
to
hope
continue.
not.
This is a Star Wars thing. They like to connect the dots. I just thought she should have died, only because they kill everybody in Rogue One.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
But this is more tragic now. So
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Pete, you're wanting to talk about Mon Mothma, actually.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in her storyline, because I felt like, I mean, she was one of the major characters of this show through the first season and through episode 9, and showing all the manipulation she was doing and everything like that. And then she has her big moment where she gives the speech and everything like that. And then these last 3 episodes, she's like barely there and barely does anything. So I feel like she didn't get a wrap-up moment to show, like, here's the things I sacrificed for and why I sacrificed. And I felt like I needed like a speech or something from her there at the Yavin base, that it was just like she just became a background character in the last 3 episodes, and I don't feel like I got a good feeling for why she gave it all up or whatever. I don't know. I just wanted something more out of that character in those last 3 episodes, and I was disappointed in how that character wrapped up. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, because basically her story ended with that speech at the
Right.
at the Senate.
Okay. I think Dirk's gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Now I can't say there is a deleted scene that they did not put in, that is basically her husband coming to her and saying, I know what you've been doing all along. I know exactly why you married off her daughter. I really wish you could have trusted me. I would have helped you, because they were calling me in every week to question me. So that was actually a scene that I think would have helped, especially helped then the last scene with the husband.
With his husband and the girlfriend or whatever.
Well, the girl is the wife of the mob,
of the gangster.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. I also kind of along this, she's nowhere to be seen in A New Hope or Empire.
Correct.
So her fading into the background, at least temporarily, then coming back to prominence, to me makes sense if you're going forward through the next set of stories.
Yeah, and she's this character in Rogue One, right? A relatively minor character that's just in part of the leadership. But I still wanted, it's a problem I kind of had with the whole show, which the show kind of ended in a, now we go to Rogue One. Like, we're not going to end in any kind of climax. We're just going to be like, now go watch Rogue One. And I wanted it to feel like a self-contained ending, because Rogue One was the same thing, a prequel, but it still felt like it concluded the story of those characters. Yeah, killed them all, but
you had to.
But
so
I don't feel like this wrapped things up as well as a show, and that was one of the gaps, I thought, is that I don't feel like we got a response about how her sacrifices affected her and made her a leader amongst the rebels and things like that. So I would have liked to have seen more of that.
Okay. Makes sense. Anyone else on Mon Mothma? Okay.
Good.
Well, in that case, let's look at Steve Deidre. We kind of talked about,
I liked how her fate was shown. I did not see that coming. I thought that was just perfect, how they get slowly sort of panned out, and then you realize what was going on. Spoiler, she's in prison and gets to make probably Death Star parts.
So she's just like in jail forever now?
She's prison.
Just like from Andor was in season 1.
She's on Narkina 5, which is the prison that Andor was in.
Yeah.
Where they fry you.
I just wish there was a little bit more that talked about how she got from there to there. I felt like it was quickly, oh, we need to wrap up this story here. And now you're talking here. I felt like, well, she said Luthen is access and this entire hospital goes down, and they sort of ignore that storyline. But you're talking here, if they thought someone else was access Leia, then that makes a little bit more sense.
And
But go ahead.
And how ironic is it that apparently the entire empire went down because of a set of emails
I know.
that she ended up going to jail for?
What are her emails?
Yeah, I heard emails.
Although I thought Kate brought up an interesting point, and I had noticed it too, but with Deidre's hair, how when she was part of the empire, it was all super tight, super slick.
Right.
But as she got more and more on the outs and got more and more, literally as she got more and more frazzled, her hair got more and more frazzled.
Oh.
And she also aged like really quick. We're like, she looked younger, and then as she's getting older and older and older, she's getting frazzled. I noticed that.
Oh yeah, that last you could tell like she is just worn down. Like
they did a great job with that.
Yeah.
So
well, can I rebut, or I don't know about rebut, but argue why I thought they summed it up well in that scene with where she's like talking to Krennic, and like basically and very early on they talked about her character, and it's like, you better watch out, you're going out on limbs and you're not being careful. And so she got information on the Death Star and she didn't report it, and she used it, and then Lonnie, the spy, accessed that data and gave it to
Luthen.
Luthen. So like she was responsible for the Death Star being blown up in the end. So but even though they didn't know that just yet, like they knew that even though she didn't necessarily release that information, her trying to basically act on her own, like she'd been doing many times before, and in a machine like the Empire, you don't act on your own. That's what ended up with her in jail. So I kind of agree with you, Steve, that it maybe would have been nice to have seen a little more wrap up there, but I did feel like I understood why she ended up where she ended up, and just that moment showing her in the prison was like, because I did not see that coming. I was like,
that was the best.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It was sweet.
For me, the ones I wanted that seemed awfully sudden was Bail Organa and the whole Organa family, to be perfectly honest. Because and my Star Wars nerds can correct me if I'm wrong. At this point, Leia is either 19 or 20 years old.
Yes.
And according to previous stories and such, she started being a part of the Senate when she was 16. So where was she? Because if her father was on Yavin, she would have been targeted as well, you would think. And then we never officially hear that it's presumed that they are then back on Alderaan when the planet blows up. But
I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know where Bail Organa is after that.
I did a little bit of a deep dive on that. Again, it's presumed they go back to Alderaan, but it never actually says. So I need to know. And if he's going to go down swinging and just goes back to Alderaan and gets blown up, that's not exactly going down swinging. So I have some questions about both he and Leia, because we see Leia at the end of Rogue One.
Right, at the beginning of New Hope. But I think with that, Yavin is still a secret base, so nobody knows where they are. And so he's in, hiding, whatever, and Leia is the mouthpiece for the Empire,
Yeah,
I guess.
I even though he's there, I think he's still in the Senate at this stage.
Okay, that would make sense.
I think he's still secretly being involved with the rebels.
And then Leia becomes the mouthpiece.
And Leia is also out there,
Yeah.
kind of working, publicly speaking out maybe a little bit, but more helping the rebels as well. They show her in the series Rebels, they show her like kind of using her influence to accidentally have things stolen by the rebels and things like that, but she has to appear like she's still okay with the Empire. So I feel like that's what's going on there. It does feel, I'm both glad she didn't show up, but it also feels wrong that she didn't show up.
She could have shown up. I'm glad Jalen Urso didn't show up.
Oh, the dad. They mentioned him though, so I was satisfied.
Sorry, Jen. I'm glad the girl from Rogue One didn't show up.
They mentioned Gale, and I'm happy they mentioned that. At least they mentioned him, because that whole Saw thing really that tied it up for me when they had Saw, and that's how I knew. Okay, we got this covered.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't show those characters, but yeah, as I said, they could have shown her. It would have been a little bit of a distraction, but it also would have made sense because she was, as you say, she was definitely involved. I thought that too. I was like, well, do her as a hologram, because then the fact that it's CGI wouldn't feel so out of.
It could still be. They could just change the mouth a little bit on the Leia stuff, because I'm sure there's footage of Carrie Fisher saying whatever they want her to be saying.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. If it is a hologram, I'm sure it wouldn't look as fakey as it kind of does in Rogue One. Yeah. So
I feel like I am at a disadvantage because I don't remember what happens in Rogue One.
Well, hold that thought, because you'll have a chance to.
We're going there.
I feel like okay. I watched the Marvel universe from beginning to end, right? And I did have some things because I knew about Infinity War, I knew about Endgame, so I knew things, and that did kind of help. But as the resident non Star Wars expert here, I'm kind of bummed because I just feel like I'm missing out on so many really cool things. I'm watching you all get so excited, and I'm like, man, I want to get excited too, but I literally do not remember what happened. I know everybody dies, because I remember being like, man, did everybody just die in this movie? And everybody was like, yep.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
For a 10-year-old movie.
My bad. But it so I guess if there's anybody out there listening to this or watching this podcast that is feeling kind of like, man, I feel like I missed stuff, I'm right there with you. And I'm almost bummed that I don't have more to impart, because I love, this is partly why I love this podcast, is because I love watching how excited all of you get for some of these things, because I know how much you all love Star Wars, and I love watching oh my gosh, it was so Deidre's ending, it was so good. It's I think I get more joy out of watching how excited you all get about it than being excited about it myself. Whereas Pete and I could talk for hours about Daredevil, and we got really excited about, even though it was really dark. That's just partly total side note, but that's partly why I enjoyed this podcast, is because while I may be I don't know what's happening.
We get, more so Gina and I that get the really nerdy details, and Steve to a degree as well. I think he gets a lot of it. Derek, I don't think.
Derek looks it up though. He does look it up, because we had that question about Bail Organa.
Yeah, so. But I think it's kind of cool that you don't remember Rogue One, and we're gonna watch it, and we can kind of have that point of view of someone that's like, I don't remember this, and is it going having watched this series and now we go into Rogue One. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be going oh, it's Saw Gerrera, I know who this is now? So and there's some other minor characters in there. Melshi, right? Melshi, just this dude in Rogue One, he's just some dude in the crew, but
was
now
he the one who was playing dominoes with Andor? Okay.
Yeah. So, and he helped rescue Clea and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's just kind of a nothing character in Rogue One, but like now when
We
you
know their
watch it, you'll be
friendship.
like, oh, this character went through a lot with Andor, you know, so you'll be more connected to him. So I'm going to be very curious to see how you react to Rogue One.
So do you think that do you think when they were creating Andor that they went and kind of picked through Rogue One with a fine-tooth
100%.
comb?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So Tony Gilroy, who is the showrunner for this and the writer and everything, he was heavily involved with Rogue One. He wasn't the actual director of record. But he basically, like, I guess the movie was a bit of a mess and he came in and rewrote it and reshot parts of it. So he's given a lot of credit for Rogue One, even though you won't see a ton of his name in it. I think he's listed as one of the writers, but
yeah, he's listed as a co-writer.
Yeah. But he's responsible for a lot of it. So 100% he connected the dots, because he and actually his brother, you'll see his brother, if you watch the credits, you'll see his brother's name all over this too. They were very involved with the writing of this series. He wasn't a director, but he really wrote the story for the most part. He was the head writer. So,
and I just want to say, whoever did casting did a supreme job of putting Benjamin Bratt, only because forever I was like, are Jimmy Spitz and Benjamin Bratt related? I always thought they were the same relation. I always did. So I'm like, whoever cast this did it perfect for me. I'm okay.
So, actually, Derek, do you know what I'm about to say?
Yeah, go for it.
That is one thing, because Derek and I watched the last 5 episodes together so that I wouldn't get confused. And I have to say, casting in this was brilliant. Daedra, the woman they cast as Daedra, they could not have picked a better
villainess.
But like, yes, villainous, but you also, and I have said this a bajillion times, you can get a brilliant villain when you can almost make me empathize with you. And when she was with Cyril, or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when she realized, like when she was in the elevator and she just started shaking, and like, you feel that. Like, that is not, as someone whose husband is a film and television actor, that is not easy to do, especially when you are the villain. And everything from Andor to Forrest Whitaker's character to Cyril's character to the guy who was an informant who Luthen shot. The casting in this was so brilliant. Like, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10.
That's what I said. Whoever cast this did
this show better win a big pile of Emmys, is all I can say.
I would agree.
Definitely.
Especially for the acting. Yeah. And you didn't even mention Mon Mothma, whatever her name is. She was amazing in this.
And she is, and she had to play somebody else who's like 90 years old. She did a great job.
Okay. So I guess let's just, any other thoughts on season 2? And one I want to bring up, and Kate and I have also discussed this one just because we sat and watched these for 5 hours, the cinematography in this.
Yes.
Cinematography in this
Excellent.
is phenomenal.
Yes.
Even in that last one where, and we talked about how, and a huge difference from Marvel. In Star Wars, you don't have to see them die to know they died. Because Marvel would have shown it. Marvel would have shown it, and you get shot with a blaster, and there's stuff flying out their backs. I mean, Marvel shows them dying on screen
and gutting them and all the stuff. Yes.
Star Wars, so many deaths happen off scene.
Lonnie,
and or aren't necessarily bloody, but in this one, I mean, K2SO killing those guys off screen.
So good. And then they just show him walking.
Yes.
Like,
that's the best.
That is so brilliant. That's so good. You don't have to have the gore. You don't have to have the blood. You don't have to show them grabbing someone's head and exploding it.
No.
It's so...
He just throws them against the wall.
It's so good.
And I think that definitely goes to some of the original direction of Star Wars, where it was originally a PG movie?
Yes.
Yeah, PG.
We're
Yeah.
old enough to remember.
Yeah,
So,
it was PG.
I think so. Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, let's face it. The original Star Wars was a spaghetti western,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
so it was not meant. It was meant to be. It was not meant for a big, huge adult audience. And
No.
I think that a lot of the shows, especially Andor, has stuck to that. There's not really anything in this I would not necessarily want a 10-year-old to watch. Would
Yeah.
they be lost on
Yeah.
some of it? Sure.
Yeah.
Now this is a very adult show.
But you can see
But-
K2SO, you can
Yeah.
see the ships flying,
Yeah.
But especially if you kind of ignore the massacre episode, but these last three, I mean, yes, you see the bloody knife, but you don't see it sticking out of him.
No.
It's just some of the directing choices and the cinematography choices are just magnificent.
And location choices, everything about this was so well done.
I've been surprised to find out how many of these locations are actually like real places.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing to me. The location choices were so well done.
Like that the Senate, like that area where they're walking around the Senate, that's like a real place. I'm like, oh my, I thought sure that was all CGI and everything. And
In the dome, made in the
Yeah.
dome. No, it's great. That wasn't
they-
in the dome.
In this, they didn't do a lot of it was not in the dome. A lot of it was because I watched some of up on YouTube. It has Star Wars that actually shows some of the making of behind the scenes type stuff for the 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And like they talked about how the Yavin 4 hangar, they had to make it so people could go grab tools and actually start wrenching on stuff and could actually grab an arc welder and start welding on stuff because people were just going in. They didn't want them acting like it was a museum.
That's great.
My other thought. So in the scene between Luthen and Deidre, when they're in his shop and he says there's one or two things of questionable provenance. Now, there's two ways to take that. One, it's him and Deidre
right.
that are questionable.
That's what I took it
Yeah.
as.
Yeah.
Other one that I've seen a lot of the place, the Ezra stones, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And Gina and
Oh,
Pete kind of
Fibers. Yeah.
Ezra from Rebels?
Yeah.
yeah. And Gina explained what I'm talking. We talked about the rock paper scissors stones, the one with the hand, the one with the fist.
It's the game. It's like that old ruins. It's like they're like rune stones. I always called them the runes that they would use in the ancient times. Yeah, they had those. They did have that. And and then so they used it as like a scribe, right? They had it as like a scribe. Yeah, so those were around. I wonder what they say. What do they say?
I don't
know.
So what were they originally used for in Rebels?
They were scribes. They're like scribes. They're like runes.
Well,
so it's like
No, the hand thing and those are the Mortis gods, and they were at the end, towards the end of Rebels, like where he gets in to see
in the Jedi temple.
the Jedi temple. Those same runes are there.
Okay.
They're
So
like a scribe, though. They're like a scribe. It's weird because
they're like a puzzle almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing, I don't know if anybody saw it in there, but the other thing that they showed a couple of times was the Shankara stones from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
I did see those. I was like,
How did I miss all of this?
They were on a shelf in the background. You saw them a couple times. So I was like, those are probably fake.
well, they're from the movie. They're from the set.
Guys, anything else you guys want to talk about season 2 before we get into our Pixie Dust ratings?
I'm curious how this is going to play going into Rogue One, because I haven't seen Rogue One in probably like 5 years.
Oh,
like
nice.
I've read like people are considering Rogue One to be like season 3. So I'm wondering how this is all going to mesh. Because now that I've watched all the episodes and have not seen Rogue One in a while, how it feels going into this. So I'm really curious about that.
You get a lot of Krennic. You get a lot of Krennic. You get a lot, So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
And you get a lot of K2SO.
So, as we always do, we judge things on cups of pixie dust out of 5, and we are looking at just season 2 of Andor. And before we give grades, I want to let you guys know what you graded season 1. So, if you guys want me to, do you want to know what you gave season 1 or not?
I think I gave it a 3.
Correct. Pete gave it a 4.
4.5.
You gave it a 4.5. Correct.
Wait, Gina, did you not rate
I
it?
didn't rate it.
Oh.
Okay. So, Kate, season 2 of Andor out of 5 cups of pixie dust.
I'm going to stick with my 3 solely based on the casting and the cinematography and the storytelling. Was I confused most of the time? Yes. Am I glad I had somebody to watch it with me who could answer my questions? Yes. But did they act the crap out of this show? And the artistry in the cinematography, the fact that there was a giant massacre in one episode and they didn't need to pour blood everywhere, and they didn't need to show people with their guts hanging out, and they didn't just
We're looking at you, Marvel.
right. Well, actually, I was thinking like Saving Private Ryan, but yes. But it was just so masterfully shot and so brilliantly cast. I would give it. I don't know if I will rewatch it, and usually my going above a 3 is my I would rewatch it. I'm gonna give this a solid 3. Go ahead, Gina.
This is a 4 for me by far. The only reason it's not a 4.5 or a 5 is the slow. It tend to be a little slow in places, and the predictability. Of course, that to me is always like, you got to do something a little unpredictable. Star Wars, come on, but it's a 4 for sure. And the cinematography and the acting and the casting and the directing, all of that is a 5. If I had to give 2 grades, because that part.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gina. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I just thought I gave the first season a 4, and I was leaning towards 4.5, but I gave it a 4 because of the slowness. And when I went back and rewatched that, I appreciated it more. But I felt the same thing here, that there were times when things were moving too slow, and that I wanted the pace to be faster. So I can't give it a 5 because of that.
Yeah, the pace.
But this is so good, and it's so integrated with the rest of Star Wars so well, and leading into Rogue One, which leads so well into New Hope, that I'm going to give it a 4.5. Steve?
4.5. I like season 1 slightly more, but the storyline, it kept me engaged. I would have binge watched it if my other half could only handle like 1 episode at a time, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, 4.5.
And for me, it's a 3. I like season 1 better. So I
That's
like
still a high score for you.
it is a high score, and it's over the 3 is usually my rewatchability score, and I have actually gone back and watched most of these episodes. I have watched twice, just because I'll watch them early in the week, then I'll watch them closer to when we do stuff. But it's to the point of I don't mind watching them twice. So
yeah, the other thing about this show, I don't think it would necessarily be a show I would go back to a lot. But I could see maybe 5 years down the road rewatching it.
I want to go back I need to go back and watch the prison episodes
in season 1. Yeah.
So, Kate, you had a question.
I do. I have a question for the Star Wars lovers, because we've watched quite a bit of Star Wars. I know you all have watched Star Wars, so I'm going to ask, as someone who is not a huge Star Wars person, but who is a big Marvel person and could answer this question for Marvel, my answer would be the first season of Daredevil. What is your favorite Star Wars show? And we can take that of animated versus non-animated. I am just curious as to what, or even you could, you can throw movies in there too. Movies count. I mean, Daredevil is my favorite of all of Marvel. First season of Daredevil. But I'm just curious, like, when you look at the entity of Star Wars, I know that there's so much.
It's so hard.
Do you have a favorite, and where does Andor fall in that?
I've got a definite favorite, but Gina, do you want to go first?
My favorite is Empire Strikes Back. That's just my favorite movie.
That's the very first thing that was ever created.
No.
Oh, that's the
It's-
second thing that was
That's
ever
when
created.
that's the big reveal of Darth Vader. That's the
Darth
big
Vader
reveal.
father.
Starts
Yeah.
on Hoth, and then it goes to the sky.
Yeah. And it
Me-
has the big reveal that there's two.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a whole thing. It's a whole. It'd be
I love
Yoda.
you. No.
It's the.
Okay.
I mean, it's the Yoda. That's my number one thing in Star Wars. That's what hooked me. I was in kindergarten. My dad took me to the movie theater. That was the best movie I ever saw in my life. And I always tell the students, if you don't watch anything, watch Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So that being said, is number one. For series, though, gosh, these new animated series are so well done. Bad Batch is good. I started watching the Underworld. They're so good. So I do like the animated series. Rebels is really good. And then Andor fits up in there. I would do like the original trilogy. Then I'd go to like the animated stuff. And then I would put like Andor, Mandalorian in there. And that.
So why was Clone Wars so hard to slog through for me?
It's a slog. But there's because we
Clone
were
Wars
home.
is not good.
We were home. It just reveals so much. We were home for that whole year, so we watched every day. So it was so good because it's like something to look forward to at the end of the day. And then the Darth Maul stuff, I really enjoyed that. The Ahsoka stuff, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed Anakin. I don't think he's such a whiny little.
Kate, if it makes you feel any better, I have no idea what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
What I'd say about Clone Wars is there's 10 to 20 good episodes,
There's
and
like
the rest
20,
is a
yeah. There's 20 really good, but then Anakin, I don't hate anymore. I hated Hayden Christensen. I hated him. And after watching Clone Wars, I don't hate him as a character anymore.
But when we were trying to watch the entirety of the Star Wars universe, like I would have felt guilt skipping episodes. But God, that was where that did us in, was Clone Wars. So
No,
Pete, where do
I
you
would
stand on all of this?
So I can't grade the original trilogy because it's such ingrained in my childhood.
Yeah,
that like I'm
number
like
one.
Gina. It's like, oh my God, this is
It's the trilogy's number one.
So like to me to include that, I can't include it.
Would you give the original trilogy a 5?
The first two, yes.
Empire Strikes Back is absolutely a 5.
Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, yes.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, probably
it's
a 4.
like a 4.
Yeah,
totally a 4. Those Ewoks.
I mean, I saw it a lot when I was a kid.
It's those Ewoks.
Yeah. Well, basically the whole Ewok part. Yeah. But of the new stuff, my favorite series is the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and then they're so different. Like there's because like Mandalorian is very much the adventure side of Star Wars, and this is the like serious side of Star Wars.
This is the political why it all happened.
Right.
Okay.
It's the stuff that George Lucas had good ideas and couldn't get right in the prequels.
Mm-hmm. It's very political.
And then as far as the movies go, and a lot of Star Wars fans will hate me for this, I love The Last Jedi. That's my favorite of the other movies is The Last Jedi. Rogue One is also very, very good.
Rogue One is very good. Rogue One was that was my episode 3. That was my Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Steve?
For me, New Hope, the first Star Wars movie, I remember seeing it in the drive-in theater. I don't think I was into it as much as Pete, but definitely remember music comes on, the connection. For animation, the ones I've seen, Rebels. I mean, I binge watched that, really enjoyed it. For series, Andor. Like
Really?
I remember watching that first episode when we first reviewed it, went, oh my gosh, I can't. And I went back and I watched the first episode again in different insight and just totally fell in love with it. So
and for me it's A New Hope. Now, I do not remember seeing it in the theater. Excuse me, I remember seeing it in the theaters. No, I wasn't. But when it was re-released, I was actually there on opening night when it was re-released in a great big what passed for a big theater in the bustling burg of Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm kind of along the lines of Pete. I would say of the non-original trilogy, The Last Jedi is actually really good in telling the story, because The Force Awakens is A New Hope Redux.
Yeah.
I mean, almost
That-
not quite shot
word
for
for word. It was word for word. Yeah.
Not quite, but
and,
yeah.
Not for sure.
and let's face it, to have the cop out in Rise of Skywalker that the big
was so
bad villain is
irritated.
truly
That's true.
Palpatine, really?
Rise of Skywalker is
The worst
is-
one.
the only, to me, the only of the Disney movies that's genuinely bad.
Yeah, it's the worst one.
Yeah.
I agree.
Solo's not good.
So
So,
yeah,
I like
have to
Solo.
say, if you forgive all the fan stuff,
The Clone Wars, though, it goes really well with Clone Wars.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Solo
I-
does.
I've seen Solo like 4 or 5 times, and it
twice.
grew on me more each time. The first time I saw it, I hated it, and then so I kind of realized, and the stuff I still hate about it is whenever it's like, look, it's
It's a
Han
Wookiee.
Solo's blaster. He got his
It's a Wookiee.
blaster. Oh, like I
it's
can't
Indiana
stand
Jones.
that stuff.
It's the Indiana
If you
Jones
ignore
thing
that
as well.
stuff, I really enjoy the movie.
Okay. Kate, what have we got for Disney Plus news this week? We're keeping in
Oh
mind
my
that you're muted. There you go.
I am not muted anymore. Super easy. Number one, Captain America: Brave New World will be released on Disney Plus on May 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we
Has anybody here seen it?
I've seen it.
I
we
didn't hate it.
need to take a vote on this one, whether we really need to watch it on here, because
I didn't hate it.
I will.
I have not
probably
seen
watch
it, so I don't know.
like I
Casey and I will probably watch it together.
Great.
Pete, what is your? You didn't hate it either.
I didn't hate it.
That's how I feel. I didn't hate it. That's my review. I didn't hate it.
From those two, it may be up in the air whether we actually do that one on here or not, to be perfully honest.
Steve, watch it.
I've
see
not
what
seen
you
it.
think.
Okay.
I will watch it because Casey and I watch everything Marvel. And last but not least, Frozen, the hit Broadway musical, will come to Disney Plus on June 20th. It was filmed in the very similar style to Hamilton.
Oh, cool.
And there's a
We
couple
will not do that.
No, we will not do that.
I don't need to. I saw it on the ship. It's enough. That's it.
I can watch it and put in a word for you.
We might watch it, but I
I'll
don't
watch
think
it. I'll let you know if
We
it's like the
won't do it
ship
on here.
or Disneyland. Disneyland did it
Honestly,
too.
if we're going to review anything along those lines, we actually haven't done Frozen yet. So,
Wow.
yeah, I know, Kate. I'm with you on that one.
You know what, though? The music is catchy, but I remember when it... hold on. I need to put a caveat on all of this,
No,
though.
it is.
I
The songs are good.
worked at Walt Disney World when this came out. The reason that I make that face is because it took over everything.
True.
It's actually a pretty gosh darn good. It's not a bad movie. It's kind of nice to
Okay,
have.
which one? Is it pretty gosh darn good, or is it not bad?
It's not bad. It's a good movie because it's about two sisters as
Yeah, it's
opposed
totally
to
different.
like,
A
oh, I'm a
prince.
damsel in distress and this man is gonna come save me. Like, it's about the love of two sisters. That I love. The reason I make that face is because anyone who worked at Disney when that movie came out until essentially
A decade later.
a decade later, it just literally took over everything.
Same here.
We had Cinderella's Holiday Wish, which is the lighting of the Magic Kingdom castle at Christmas.
Now it's Frozen.
If you haven't seen it, it is the cutest show you ever seen. Go on YouTube, look it up. Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy are trying to figure out how to decorate the castle. The fairy godmother comes out and is like, yo, it's not your castle though. We got to ask Cinderella. Cinderella comes out and then we light the candle. And then all of a sudden Elsa's like, ma'am, I'm going to light this castle. It just took over everything. That is why it makes me make that face.
Including the maelstrom.
It took over everything. It took over
It
everything.
took over
Everything.
It took over everything.
It's in
That
every
is why
parade. It's in every parade. It's still showcased in the Christmas parade.
it got
Christmas
put into
Fantasy.
Phantasmic.
It's in
Which
it's
is
everywhere.
where, though, I love that it is, yes, it's in Happily Ever After, but it's not what you would normally, it's not the one you would normally think.
Yeah, well, it's in Christmas Fantasy. They're
Oh,
in
yeah.
Christmas Fantasy, and there's roller
Yeah.
skaters going down. It's cute.
There was a period of time where if you went to Disney for a week and you played Take a Drink every time they play Let It Go in the parks, you would have died of alcohol poisoning by day 4.
Oh yeah.
Was how much they were playing that.
We became very bitter anything Frozen because it just it came in with a wrecking ball and took over everything. And it was like, you're new here. Sit down. So that is why I make that face. Not because it's bad.
No, I get it.
The level of popularity of that movie is hard to really enumerate. So we went there like 2 weeks before the movie opened, and they had while we were there, they started having Anna and Elsa meet. This is before 2 weeks before the movie came out. There was a 5-hour wait to meet the characters before the movie came out. The characters were that popular before the movie came out.
So how old was your daughter?
She was already too old. She was at an age where when Frozen came out, she loved it for about 6 months, and then she hated it.
Okay.
So she was like
missed the window
11 or 12 or something like that.
So you missed the window.
You knew if you were going to Epcot and you wanted to see those characters, that was all you did that day.
Yeah.
Anyway, Derek, go ahead.
Next week, we are going to, Kate, we're going to put you out of your misery. We are going to.
Speaking of Epcot. Oh.
We're going to watch Rogue One.
I thought we were watching the Three Caballeros. Never mind.
Just to get it over with. Just to get it over with, because hopefully not taking a couple weeks off will not make you as confused. I'm still very willing to watch it with you, but
okay, let's do it.
I think there's less to be confused about.
Much less to be confused about because it was originally designed as a standalone.
Yeah.
So
and it does.
So we're doing Rogue One next week, guys. We have some open spots in June and July, especially if you want to have anything from the vault that you want to make sure we do. Send us an email at plusplatoon@gmail.com. Message us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are on all the major podcasting services. For Kate, Gina, Pete, and Steve, we will see everyone next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcasts and leave those 5-star reviews as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @plusplatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.